Like you spilled water on my dress, Sabrina shrieked, her voice sharp enough to make the entire restaurant turn toward her. The laughter and soft music came to an abrupt halt. Even the piano player's hands hovered mid-note. I'm so sorry, ma'am, Elena stammered, her hands trembling as she reached for a napkin, her voice barely above a whisper. But Sabrina wasn't interested in apologies. She rose slowly from her chair, her diamond bracelet catching the light like a warning. Her glare could have cut glass. Do you even know how much this dress costs? This dress could buy your entire pathetic existence. She stood tall, towering over Elena with a smirk so poisonous it silenced every whisper in the room. What are you even doing here? Scraping plates and living off tips like some low-grade servant? You don't belong in a place like this. Elena froze. Her fingers still gripped the damp linen. The weight of the stairs pressed down on her like bricks. It wasn't the first time she'd been talked down to. As a black woman working in upscale service, microaggressions came with the job. But this wasn't micro. This was a public execution of her worth. Behind the bar, Priya, the bartender, lowered a glass in disbelief. At table 6, Karen Whitehall shielded her daughter's ears, and across the room, Leo Ramos slowly reached for his phone, pressing record. No one moved. And then it happened. Slap. The sound cracked through the air like a lightning strike. Sabrina had slapped her. Elena's head tilted slightly from the impact, her breath catching in her throat. The sting on her cheek was immediate. But deeper than that, something splintered inside her. What happened next is something no one in that restaurant would ever forget. And what you're about to hear is going to shock you. If you believe everyone deserves to be treated with respect, no matter who they are or where they come from, then drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe, because you're going to want to hear the rest of this story. Earlier that day, the Silvercrest Resort was known for its luxury and serenity. A hidden gem tucked in the mountains of Colorado, the kind of place where CEOs escaped reality and Instagram stars created theirs. With its infinity pools, spa villas, and exclusive clientele, the resort was a bubble of perfection. Elena Brooks had been working there for 7 months. Every morning, she arrived 2 hours early to review menu updates and help the kitchen prep. She memorized wine lists in between lunch shifts. She learned guests' favorite seats, dietary restrictions, and how they took their espresso. She was the kind of employee any manager would beg to keep. But she was also invisible. Invisible to the guests who never looked her in the eye. Invisible to the influencers who tagged the perfect service but never knew her name. Invisible to the world of luxury because she didn't wear it. She served it. Still, she endured. She smiled. She believed. Her dream wasn't to stay behind the tray forever. She was saving. Every tip went into a hidden envelope taped under her mattress. Her goal, culinary school. And someday, her own soul food restaurant. A place filled with music, spice, and the memory of her grandmother's kitchen. But even the strongest dreams can be bruised. That afternoon, just before the dinner rush, Elena had felt a strange energy in the air, a tension she couldn't name. When the hostess whispered, "Table 9 is Sabrina Langford." Yes, that's Sabrina. A chill ran down Elena's spine. Sabrina was a socialite turned influencer with millions of followers, infamous for controversial rants and savage reviews. She once called a Michelin-starred chef culinary roadkill. She was trending more for scandals than style. Elena plastered on her best smile and approached the table with grace. She didn't expect kindness, but she didn't expect war either. From the moment she said, "Good evening, I'll be your server tonight," Sabrina had been hostile. She snapped her fingers instead of speaking, rolled her eyes when Elena answered questions, spoke to her live stream. Why do five-star resorts always hire Walmart-level help? Elena heard it. So did Leo, and Priya, and half the room. But she stayed calm. She didn't want trouble. She didn't know. It was already looking for her. The silence after the slap hung in the air like smoke. Elena's cheek throbbed with heat, but her mind was frozen. Her eyes flicked around the restaurant. Forks were suspended mid-air. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Even the kitchen had gone still. Sabrina stood with her hand still raised, chest heaving, lips curled in self-satisfaction. "Maybe now you'll learn to respect real class," she hissed, loud enough for all to hear. Elena didn't respond. Not yet. Her fists clenched at her sides. Shame flooded her veins. But it wasn't hers to carry. She had done nothing wrong. Her breathing quickened. Her heart hammered. And then, in one motion so smooth it startled even her, Elena slapped her back. Crack! Sabrina stumbled backward, mouth open in stunned silence. Elena's voice was low but steady as steel. "Respect is not a privilege, it's a right, and I will not let anyone treat me like I'm less than human." Gasps erupted. A wine glass slipped from someone's hand and shattered. A whisper rolled across the room like thunder. Then someone clapped. Just once, then again, Karen Whitehall, and soon others joined, quietly, hesitantly, not everyone, but enough. Elena turned and walked toward the back corridor without looking back. Inside the kitchen, Priya nearly dropped a tray when she saw her friend. "What happened? The entire floor is buzzing. Twitter's already talking about it." Elena leaned against the counter, taking deep breaths. Her hands shook. "She hit me," she said quietly. "And I hit back?" Priya blinked. Then her lips curled into a grin. "You legend. You absolute legend." But Elena didn't smile. "I think I'm going to be fired." Out on the floor, Sabrina was in full meltdown mode. "I want her fired. Now! This is assault! Do you know who I am? Get me the resort manager, the CEO, the board of directors. I'll sue this entire mountain if I have to." Guests were whispering. Cameras were rolling. One teen in the corner was already live streaming to over 10,000 viewers. Leo Ramos stepped forward calmly. "I saw everything," he said, loud enough for the tables nearby to hear. "And I recorded it. From the moment you mocked her until the moment you hit her." Sabrina spun toward him, her voice shrill. "That's illegal. You can't just record people." "It's legal in this state," Leo replied, unbothered, "especially when it's a matter of public interest." Back in the locker room, Elena sat on a bench, her head in her hands. She wasn't crying, not yet, but she felt it coming. The overwhelming tide of everything: humiliation, fear, rage, disbelief. The restaurant's supervisor, Mrs. Gladwell, stepped inside, looking nervous. "Elena, upper management is asking for a report. The guest is threatening legal action. I'm going to have to place you on temporary suspension pending investigation." Elena nodded slowly. "I understand." Gladwell hesitated. "For what it's worth, I saw it happen, and I don't blame you." Then she left. Elena sat alone. Her cheek still burned, but her dignity burned brighter. By morning, it was everywhere. Clips of the slap trended under #slapbackqueen and #silvercrestscandal. Elena's Instagram went from 900 followers to 70,000 overnight. News outlets reached out. A major talk show requested an exclusive. Leo posted a full blog entry titled, The day a waitress defended all of us. It was shared over 2 million times. Meanwhile, Sabrina's name was now associated with rage, racism, and ridicule. Her PR team scrambled to shut down the videos, but the internet had already spoken. Yet Elena? She sat quietly on her couch, phone off, drinking tea. She didn't feel like a hero. She just felt tired. But deep down, something had shifted. Something solid and powerful. She had drawn a line, and the world was watching. 2 weeks later, Elena Brooks stood at the steps of the Aspen County Courthouse. The sky was a pale gray. The air bit at her fingertips, but her spine was straight. She wore a simple navy dress and a wool coat, her hair pulled back. Nothing flashy, just steady. The world had changed. Reporters lined the sidewalk, microphones outstretched like weapons. Protesters held signs, some for her, some against. A woman screamed, "She should have walked away," while another yelled back, "She should have never been slapped in the first place." It wasn't just a slap anymore. It was a statement, a reckoning. Sabrina Langford had filed a civil suit for assault, defamation, and emotional distress, and she was seeking $5 million in damages. Inside the courtroom, everything gleamed with polished oak and hushed voices. Elena sat quietly beside her attorney, a local woman named Nadine Ellis, known for her calm presence and laser focus. Across the aisle, Sabrina was flanked by 3 lawyers in designer suits. She wore black, hair perfectly curled, makeup soft, and eyes red from a morning's worth of rehearsed tears. The judge entered. Everyone stood. And then, a twist. Judge Marisol Ramos. Elena blinked. So did Leo Ramos, who sat behind her in quiet support. His mother, a woman with a reputation for fairness, backbone, and zero tolerance for drama. Sabrina didn't know. Not yet. The plaintiff's team opened strong. Photos of Sabrina's bruised cheek. Clips of her crying on the floor after the incident. Carefully framed narrative. A young woman, famous and vulnerable, attacked by a service worker who couldn't control her emotions. They called witnesses. A waiter who claimed Elena had a history of snappiness. A resort guest who admitted she seemed aggressive. But then, Nadine stood. Let's talk about context. She presented the unedited footage, the livestream clips, tweets from the night of the incident, and then she called Leo Ramos to the stand. Leo took a deep breath. I was there. I saw Sabrina mock Elena, demean her, and hit her first. The response wasn't violence. It was dignity defending itself. The courtroom shifted. Then came Karen Whitehall, the woman dining with her kids. She told the court about her daughter's iPad catching it all by accident. They played it. Uncut. Raw. Sabrina's voice on tape. You don't even deserve to be in this place. Then the slap. Then Elena's quiet reply. Sabrina's lawyer objected, claimed it was taken out of context, that Sabrina was under stress, that she feared for her safety. Elena was called to the stand. She sat tall, but her voice was soft. I didn't want to hit her back. I didn't go to work to fight. I just snapped. Because after a lifetime of swallowing disrespect, sometimes one more insult is one too many. The courtroom was silent. Then came the final blow. Screenshots, emails, a whistleblower. A Silvercrest staff member had been offered money by someone on Sabrina's team to lie in court. To say Elena had been aggressive for months. The evidence was irrefutable. Judge Ramos narrowed her eyes. Her voice was firm. This court was nearly manipulated with false testimony. That alone warrants dismissal. But beyond that, what I saw was not assault. It was a woman protecting her dignity after being publicly humiliated. Sabrina's lawyers shifted in their seats. The case is dismissed, and a formal investigation into witness tampering will begin immediately. The gavel dropped. Sabrina sat frozen. Elena didn't cheer. She didn't cry. She simply breathed. For the first time in weeks, it felt like she truly could. Outside, the world waited. And when Elena stepped down those courthouse steps, she was no longer just a waitress. She was a woman who stood up, and the world had listened. Elena's victory rippled across the nation. Clips of her courtroom testimony became social media anthems. Her line, "Sometimes one more insult is one too many," was printed on T-shirts, quoted in editorials, and turned into protest chants. She was hailed as a symbol of modern dignity. Not angry, not violent, just real. But with fame came scrutiny. By the end of the week, Elena had received over 9,000 messages. Some were thank yous, some were interview requests, but others were cruel. Anonymous emails, "You're just riding the race card," DMs from fake accounts, "Bet you planned this for clout." There were even videos titled, "The Waitress Hoax," breaking down the PR spin. Elena turned off her phone for 3 days. Meanwhile, Sabrina Langford vanished from the public eye. Her accounts went dark. Brand partnerships were paused. Rumors swirled. Was she hiding? In rehab? Rebranding? Then, the video dropped. In a soft-lit room, wearing a plain sweatshirt and no makeup, Sabrina stared into her camera. "Hi, everyone. I've been offline, thinking, reflecting. There's a lot I wish I could undo. I was raised with privilege, and sometimes that blinds you to how your words and actions hurt others. I'm deeply sorry." She sniffled, dabbed her eye, continued. "I hope Elena knows I didn't mean to hurt her. I wasn't in a good place mentally. But that's not an excuse. I've started therapy, and I'm committed to learning." The video was 2 minutes and 48 seconds long. Some people believed her. "Forgive Sabrina" started trending. Influencers reposted, "She's showing growth, and that's brave." Daytime TV ran specials. "Can we heal without grace?" Elena watched in silence. Leo texted, "You see this?" She replied, "Watched twice." He asked, "What do you think?" Elena didn't answer. Instead, she opened Instagram. No filter, no styling. Just her and a single sentence. "Forgiveness isn't earned by performance. It's earned by accountability." The post went viral. Then came the backlash to the backlash. Threads began dissecting Sabrina's apology. Viewers noticed jump cuts. PR strategists revealed it was likely scripted. A leaked email showed her team had contacted crisis consultants just days before. Suddenly, forgiveness dried up. One headline read, "Too polished to be real. The problem with soft redemption." Brands officially pulled their contracts. A makeup company she represented dropped her mid-campaign. Her YouTube channel lost thousands of subscribers by the hour. Meanwhile, Elena received a different kind of message. "I watched my daughter cry when you stood up. Thank you, I left an abusive job today because of you. I used to be afraid to speak. Not anymore." And then, an invitation. TEDx Denver. She almost said no, she wasn't a speaker. She was a server. But Leo said, "Maybe now, you're both." She stood on that stage 3 weeks later, palms sweating, voice shaking. But she spoke anyway. "I never wanted a fight. I just wanted to be treated like a person." Respect isn't a reward for silence. It's the bare minimum. And when it's denied again and again, standing up isn't dramatic. It's survival. The audience rose to its feet, and somewhere in the crowd, a little girl in braids held her mom's hand and whispered, "She's like me." 5 months had passed since the verdict. Elena Brooks had returned to her quiet apartment, away from cameras and headlines, with one mission in mind: build something that would outlast the moment. She turned down TV deals. She paused all influencer invites. She even declined an offer to publish a book, at least for now. Instead, she pulled out her old vision board. At the center was a picture of her grandmother, smiling in front of a brick house with a pot of gumbo in her hands. Surrounding it were magazine cutouts of restaurants, chalkboard menus, handwritten recipes, and one faded sticky note that read, "Make a place where people are fed and seen." That was her North Star. With the help of a local foundation, a flood of community donations, and a surprise grant from a women's leadership initiative, she signed a lease on a small building in the heart of the city. It was run down. The floor creaked. The kitchen needed gutting. But it had windows that caught morning light and a door she could unlock with her own key. She called it Elena's Table. The process was grueling: permits, contractors, budget meetings, branding decisions, tastings, revisions, delays. There were nights she fell asleep on the construction floor, her head resting on a paint-splattered sweatshirt. But Elena thrived in the challenge. She hired young cooks from under-resourced communities. She gave single moms flexible hours. She stocked the pantry with local produce and spices from Black-owned farms. She didn't want just a restaurant. She wanted a ripple effect. Opening day came on a crisp Saturday morning. The line wrapped around the block. Leo was first in line, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. For the owner, he smiled. She wore an apron and sneakers. Her curls were pinned up. Her eyes were tired, but they sparkled. Inside, the walls were painted warm gold. A mural of her grandmother covered one wall, and a chalkboard read, "Welcome home. Leave your ego at the door and take your dignity with you." The food was soulful. Fried green tomatoes, peach cobbler, smoky collards, honey cornbread. Every bite tasted like memory. Reviewers called it a revolution in hospitality. Customers called it comfort in a plate. Kids laughed in the corner booth. An elderly man cried over a bowl of okra stew. A young poet asked if she could host a spoken word night in the space. Elena nodded. "This isn't mine. It's ours." 2 months later, she stood outside her restaurant in the rain. The city council had just voted to designate Elena's Table as a community landmark in progress. She looked at the sky, eyes closed. "Grandma, we did it," she whispered. And from that moment on, she wasn't just a woman who stood up. She was a woman who built forward. A year had passed. The seasons had turned. Spring came, then summer, and now autumn painted the sidewalks of the city in fiery reds and golds. Elena's Table stood strong on the corner of 8th and Willow, no longer just a restaurant, but a community landmark, a place people traveled hours to visit, a space where stories began. Inside, Elena sat in her office, surrounded by thank you notes pinned to a corkboard. One read, "I brought my daughter here to show her what strength looks like." Another, "You helped me remember that I matter." There were dozens, maybe hundreds. On her desk sat an unopened letter, thick, formal, the return address, a National Civil Rights Foundation. Inside was a nomination. Elena Brooks had been selected to receive the Beacon of Equity Award, honoring individuals who transform trauma into tangible change. She stared at it for a long time, then smiled softly. That evening, as the dinner rush slowed, Elena stepped out onto the restaurant floor. A teenage girl was helping clean tables, a recent intern from a youth program Elena had partnered with. The girl looked up. "Ms. Brooks, there's someone outside asking for you." Elena raised an eyebrow, wiped her hands, and stepped out. On the sidewalk stood Sabrina Langford. She was different now. Dressed simply, hair tied back, no entourage, no cameras, just a woman holding a takeout menu and a nervous expression. "Hi," Sabrina said, voice soft. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me." Elena didn't speak right away. "I'm not here for redemption," Sabrina continued. "I know I messed up, deeply. I've been volunteering, listening, learning, quietly. It's not about being forgiven. It's about facing what I broke. I came to eat here today because I wanted to support what you've built, and because I wanted to sit in a place made of truth." Elena studied her, then stepped aside. "There's always a seat for someone who shows up honest," she said. Sabrina nodded, eyes glossy. She stepped in slowly, hands trembling, as the warm scent of spice and cornbread welcomed her inside. Later that night, after the restaurant closed, Elena stood on the rooftop garden. String lights glowed above. The city stretched beyond her. Leo joined her, 2 mugs of tea in hand. "You always wanted quiet," he said. "Now you've built something loud without shouting." She laughed softly. "Funny how that works." He raised his mug. "To rising." She raised hers. "To remembering." Then, silence. The kind that feels full, not empty. Elena opened her journal that night and wrote, "Legacy isn't fame. It's what people carry with them after you've left the room. They tried to define me with 1 moment of shame, but I rewrote it with 1,000 moments of grace."